Content creators is the blame for the destruction of the day before. This is probably the worst, absolute shit take I've heard in a long time. Fntastic has finally spoke up about why the day before failed, and this is probably the most absurd take I've read all day on Twitter. The two brothers over at Fntastic cannot keep accountability for their very own actions. Just to give you guys a recap on exactly what is happening, basically Fntastic has delivered us finally, after almost 5 years of development, 3 years of bullshit, has finally delivered us the day before the zombie survival MMORPG. Well, was MMORPG because it was never an MMO. It was an extraction shooter with a lack of zombies and a post-apocalyptic world. And over the time of us expecting a great, MMO, like we thought that this is going to be the game that will kind of, shake up the genre just a little bit, mixing a couple of elements. Like I said, it was a survival. So there was a hunger. There was, you must like your thirsty meter. There's zombies. There's an MMO factor to it. Like there was a lot going for this game. But as we can tell as of December 7th, 2023, this was not the case. So the events of the day before, they went through a trademark dispute, seeing if they can keep the name the day before. Looks like they won it. They were being targeted by a calendar app that was using the day before. They won that, went through an entire delay. They had the most hype going into them. Even like somebody like me, a smaller YouTube creator, keep a pin in that, by the way, smaller YouTube creator, because there's a couple of things that they said about us content creators. But I was pretty hyped for it. I talked good things about it, but as time went on, the game just became more shadier and more like a scam. But I want to talk to you guys today regarding a specific Twitter post. After 3 or so days or 4 days after the game launched, Fntastic Studios shut down, and there was even more controversy afterwards. The game ran like shit. The Fntastic team ran their own team into the ground, and it was just a lot of things that were just behind the developers, behind the game. It was a huge asset flip. Almost every single thing was bought off of Unreal Engine. Like, it is an abysmal take, and I want to actually show you guys what they actually said on it, finally like talking about it, because the Fntastic team's doors, I know the game is supposed to shut down like I think next month, but the dev team already shut down 2 months ago. So let's head on over to this Twitter post that they've made. So I want to show you guys this Twitter post, right? So this is the team talking about recently a lot of misinformation has emerged on the internet from supposedly anonymous sources. Fntastic provides an official response to these statements. Now, here's the first question, and how we're going to do this is I'm going to read what they said, and I'm going to just tell you how much bullshit that is. So anonymous people allege that we deceived players. Now let's see what they have to say. We worked hard and honestly on the game for 5 years. We didn't take a penny from users. We didn't use crowdfunding and didn't offer pre-orders. Even after the game was closed, we, together with the publisher, returned money to all players, including forcibly issuing refunds to those who did not request them. How many companies return money like that? We are not a fly-by-night company. We have been operating since 2015 and have always conducted our business honestly. Now, here's my POV on that. Yes, you guys did deceive players. And the crazy part is they said they worked on the game for 5 years, which is correct. They worked on the game for 5 years, makes utmost sense. Technically, if we're being honest, you worked on the game for 2 or so years, and you did your announcement, and the game was supposed to drop that next year, but it went through delays. Then you pushed it to Unreal Engine 5, so you delayed it another year. So in the span of those 3 years, you were dealing with controversy. That's one. Two, you deceived players because you guys made your very first trailer even announcing this game, and how you guys marketed it was, this is a zombie survival MMORPG. When you play the game, it's damn near none of that. When I play the game, I have the footage on my YouTube channel. You can check it out, and you can check any other streamer, any of your favorite content creators. how many like I've only seen 2 zombies my entire time playing. Barely that. Maybe 3, maybe 4. The game was a buggy mess, and it was more of an extraction shooter, kind of like Tarkov and other, other games like that, like The Cycle, an extraction based shooter. That's not a zombie MMORPG. I have an entire playlist. I can show you what an actual MMO is. And they talk about we didn't take a penny from users and didn't use crowdfunding or didn't offer pre-orders. And, that's a shot at other companies about, offering crowdfunding. All of a sudden there's something wrong with the game, offering pre-orders, game's trash. But you did take a penny from users. Like, you offered a early access game at $40 and then said it was going to be at $50 full release. Okay. But the game was all a lie. Even though they say they were forcibly having to issue refunds. Yes, of course, people were issuing refunds literally the day, like within the day. I ordered my refund, not even I was making sure I can get my refund within the 2 hours for Steam. But after everything, why do you guys think that people want refunds from your game? Let's go for an example of like this game was not, full of lies, full of bullshit. It still wasn't even a good game. But let's not harp on that deceiving players, because this gets a little bit deeper, right? Secondly, they said anonymous people allege that we deceived the investor. They say this is not true. We still have a great relationship with our publisher. The closure of the day before did not affect our partnership. Since 2021, we have had a New Zealand venture called Fntastic. They dropped the link. And a successful game, Prop Night, which has sold almost 1 million copies. Prop Night also co-financed the development of the day before. Now, my thing about that is, they say anonymous alleged people deceived. We think that they deceived the investor. So to explain a little bit of this, Fntastic, the problem about it is I don't think Mytona would have allowed something like this to release. Mytona was helping fund. I don't think you guys, like, there's no way so you guys could pull up any form of evidence on YouTube, on blogs, on anything of that nature. You cannot sit there and tell me that you really think that Mytona let this through. Mytona being one of the biggest companies out there for publishers, one of the biggest. And you mean to tell me that they saw this and was like, yeah, this is fire. Send it. Send it, unless you fooled them like you fooled us. Now, I'm not one of those people that said that they deceived the investor, but man, that is a crazy take, because that you can't sit there and tell me that that's what happened. And then they bring up Prop Night, which Prop Night is literally just it's a Dead by Daylight and prop hunt mixed together, right? Okay, nothing too wrong about that, but they can't really use the fact of using Prop Night. Like, I sold 1 million copies, whoop-de-doo. Yeah, probably want a cracker. Like, nobody really truly cared about Prop Night. Barely that. Like, it was a dying game at most. Like, yeah, it sold 1 million copies, but let's look at it. It's not it's a dead game. Like, nobody plays it, but it's not like how bad the day before was. Like, you hype this game. Like, Prop Night was literally just a sudden drop on people's face. There was nothing, like, there was no much of like, it was the Game Awards. They was like, oh, later today, guess what, you could play Prop Night. This is a cool brand new game. But I feel like there was some deception with the investors. I'm sorry. You can't sit there and tell me Mytona looked at this and said this is fire. And like I said, this is coming from somebody, I'm not even a big YouTuber. I'm sitting at 919 subscribers, so you can't say I have any form of influence. But just from me covering this game, which you can pull up, I have an entire playlist. I've been covering this game since they announced it, and it's just like I went from a happy, hopeful, video gamer that wants to play a brand new zombie game to it finally releasing almost 3 or so years later, and it's not even close to the, like, I played shittier games and that was horrible. So let's move on. The anonymous former employees tell different stories about the development. Now, for some of you that don't know or not too well in the events of the day before, after the day before finally shut down, a lot of the employees, because their employees are technically volunteers, which that's another controversy thing. You got people doing free unpaid labor for you, but of course there's other talk saying like there's lost in translation for like how Russia and all of them, how they speak about volunteers, the whole nine. The brothers had a weird way of speaking about it, but they said that the different stories about the development and how people were like, this was never supposed to be an MMO. This game was supposed to be what it was. This is something that we literally was like, yeah, this is going to be a zombie extraction shooter, and a zombie Tarkov. A lot of people have admitted that. They're like, and then a lot of people said like the two brothers are like, they're not so great people. They had crappy deadlines, so on and so forth. So let's see what Fntastic has to say about it. So we're unsure whether these employees are real or not, but we had excellent relationships with our team. Despite being a small indie company with a limited budget, we assisted employees with relocation and healthcare, helped some of them to buy equipment with their mortgages and other personal matters. We then offered an extra non-working day off each month, vacation pay, timely salary payments, along with the option of working remotely. Our low churn rate and the fact that the half of those who left to return to the company demonstrate our positive work environment. 100% of the team did everything they could to make the day before a success. So my thing to that, because I don't want to just beat on the dead horse, and this honestly, that part could be definitely true, right? I would hope, because like I said, there was controversy around the word volunteer. I've said it in one of my videos, like that just seems very odd, but it feels like there's a lost in culture or lost in translation. Like when, I'm an American, when we hear volunteers, like in our side of the world, that is literally just free unpaid labor, or almost like an intern. Like, hey, you're not really working there, but you're there, like you're learning and stuff. And they even said like anybody can become a volunteer. But then as they express that there's volunteers, so people who actually do just come help or work on the project for like unpaid labor, and then there's actual volunteers / employees who actually get all the benefits, the pay, the whole nine. So that, I'm not even gonna fault them on that could definitely be true, but it definitely feel like a little bit shady when some of those people have came out and was just like, yeah, this is a company like that is kind of toxic. If you talk bad about them, they will damn near have your head, the whole nine. So let's continue on with the money part, and let's say who made money on the day before. So they said now this is where, the whole point of the title of this video, the point of my intro, how content creators killed the day before. Certain bloggers made huge money by creating false content with huge titles from the very beginning to gain views and followers, exploiting the lack of information about the game's development. Their actions triggered a gold rush among content creators due to the game's pre-release popularity. That is the biggest way of telling you to go fuck yourself, bro. There's no way that they are blaming content creators for the failure of the day before, even though they were so sure of it. This success, like, you got to think it's a win-win-win like relationship. There's a huge relationship between publishers, developers, content creators, players, the whole nine. We all have some form of a relationship with each other. One person helps out the next person. Like, for most of the large audience who are not content creators, sometimes they either will put trust into the developer or the publisher, or they will put trust into the content creator that they genuinely enjoy watching. Sometimes if a content creator says yay or nay, that would dictate whether somebody will play your game. So hence the influencer part of that. Then there's the content creators who also are, once again, it's just another viewer, another gamer, another player, and they would like to cover your game and critique your game to either tell their viewers like, maybe you shouldn't try this game, or give a good critique on why we should touch your game. Like, there's so much relationship, not to mention you guys, like developers and publishers, publishers help fund these games, the developers make these games, the whole nine. There's a lot of background politics. But when we get into these moments of like, oh, who made money, and they're blaming us with the day before is a scam, because they're talking about with the huge titles. But the problem is, it is true. Because the one thing about it is no one's gonna, well, depends on the person, but no one's just gonna sit there, create content, and just lie. Like, there's one thing, like, people have been called out for situations like that, but even regular players, people who are normal, there people who don't do content creation, even they were like, you got to think everybody was playing this game, and especially when your favorite content creator was hyping it up 3 years ago, like, damn, this is a good game. The controversies only happened a year later and 2 years later, and as time went on, when this game was supposed to drop, you guys were like, the only difference between you and New World was actually successful, but it ran through the same delays as much as the day before has. So you can't sit there and say that content creators are to blame. We killed the game because of the bad publicity. I was like, and I actually made a theory on my channel. It's in the playlist. I'll talk about it later. But I was like, is this all a marketing scheme to get people talking about the day before? It was a theory. I'll let you guys look at it. But I thought that was the wildest take. Who made money saying bloggers and all that kind of like ruined the game. I'm like, that's cap. That's cap. Just play the game. You guys are trying to dodge the, you guys want to move on and stuff like that. Like, you can't, no, bro. It's insane that how they're blaming us for this. I'm like, just make a good game and don't lie to your community. Because at the end of the day, content creators and regular players and viewers and all that stuff, we're all the same. We would like to just play a good game and entertain the masses and all that good stuff. So let's move on to the next part. So they say, why do they say that the released game is not the same as that in the trailers, and why was the game closed? Now, before I read this, I would love to know, because my point of this, I brought it up earlier in this video. When you look at the trailers and you look at like the marketing, the main marketing for the day before, it was marketed as, this is a zombie survival MMORPG. Like, that was the main point. Even on Steam, it was even tagged as a MMORPG. But I feel like that MMORPG is lost in something, because you can't sit there and tell me that when you sit down, play this game, touch it. I want you to literally touch it. This is not an MMORPG. If you've never played MMOs, this is not what that is like. I can tell you that right now. But let's see what they have to say before I go on. We implemented everything shown in the trailers, from home improvements and a detailed world to off-road vehicles. Now, here's another thing before I finish this next sentence. Another part that I noticed is, what I'm going to take a guess at, is that they're talking about the trailers. All of those trailers were very scripted. Very scripted. It has already been proven by multiple YouTube channels. And even if you just watch it, just seems off. Like the way the two people spoke to each other, the way how things randomly happened, like it was a in-game trailer of what just scripted, like letting events happen. But when you look at that trailer, you would expect similar type of gameplay by the time the game comes out. Of course, things are subject to change. That can happen, but things don't just change that fast. Like, when you actually played the day before, you're expecting like the huge zombie hordes that you saw in there. Bro, I seen 2 zombies. And it was a buggy mess. The gunplay was god awful. It didn't even look remotely close to what they were even showing in the trailers. But let's finish. We only disabled a few minor features like parkour. Now, I'm gonna take a guess at this parkour. You also couldn't mantle things. I don't know why they call that parkour. I mean, sure, it could be deemed as parkour, but just climbing things. Just like, oh, there's a truck, let me climb up it. No, you can't. You can't even like vault over something. Like, you disable mantle and vaulting. That doesn't make no sense. But let's continue. I digress, I guess. Due to bugs, but plan to include them in the full release. So you're gonna pay me $10 more. I mean, not pay me. I was gonna pay you $10 more because it was early access, $40, full game, $50. Insane, right? $10 more for parkour. But let's continue. Remember, the experiment where you're asked to count pink objects in a room and then recall the blue ones, you won't remember any. It's all about focus. The negative bias instilled by certain bloggers making money on hate-affected perceptions of the game. That is a wild statement, but okay. Look at unbiased gameplays. First of all, who the fuck is biased? Who was biased? We all liked this game. That is insane. There's so many people I can show like that really was waiting for this game to be good. You guys deceived all of us. This was the biggest rug pull known to mankind. Like, you guys took the biggest L in gaming history, and somehow, some way, we're the bad ones. And they said, look at unbiased gameplay like Dr. Disrespect stream at release. You know how many people who live streamed your game on release on December 7th? Plenty of them. Just using Dr. Disrespect, somebody who probably had a fun time on it. What about the rest of your audience? I played the game on release. I have it on my YouTube channel, and I don't enjoy it, not one bit. And I'm highly upset. That is insane for them to just keep blaming us. But let's continue. Despite the initial bugs and server issues, he liked the game, which we ended up fixing later. The game was only survived, well, like you guys shut down in 4 days. And here's the crazier part. Here's even wilder. The two brothers weren't even in office on the day of release. When it came to the bugs, you guys didn't fix it. There's already reports out that you guys weren't even in office to help fix. It was just the team fixing the bugs, trying to fix the dumpster fire that was happening. Insane. They're wild. This is wild, bro. As I'm reading this, like, this is my first time reading all of this information, so this is a live reaction. It's crazy that this is happening. And the game received improved reviews over the weekend. Cap. The game is the most hated game on Steam. It's the most hated game in all of gaming history. Cap. People were keeping track of it. There's no cap. Unfortunately, the hate campaign had already inflicted significant damage. All right, so I'm going to stop it there before I finish. If you guys marketed the day before as what it was, an extraction zombie shooter, people wouldn't be upset that you lied about that. That's one. Two, if you release this game in some form of a fashion of good working condition, Power World is early access and it runs better than your game. And your game was a $40 game. Their game was a $30 game on sale for $25 in for USD. Insane. So you can't sit there and say that, oh, because of all the damage we have done, like, you pissed off every single gamer who wanted to play your game. All the players, the viewers, the content creators, you pissed them all off. There's so much evidence out there of people not enjoying this game. Why do you think you guys got mass refunded? You really think people would just sit there, drop $40? I'm like, oh, okay. Granted, yes, Steam has a great refund policy, but the influence of everybody, the people still bought your game. Plenty of them. You guys had if I'm not mistaken, you guys were the one most wishlisted, and it was like most sold, kind of like Power World within the first day. But then you became immediately the most refunded game in all of history. Why is that? In all of history, why are you guys the most refunded game? And I've seen content creators dog multiple games for their gameplay, story, whatever the case, whatever. Power World is going through a similar thing right now, and it's not being the mass refunded game. It's actually the most sold right now. It just reached 8 million something copies. But I digress. By the way, after sales closed, many people wrote to us that bloggers had deceived them and they liked the game. They asked for access. We also heard the petitions were created to continue development and on the black market. The game's price exceeded $200, and some even began to make their own mods. We are all grateful to all the senders and mails who expressed support and appealed not to give up and to continue work. Finally, we encourage you to subscribe to our social networks to know what will happen next. The most refunded game known to mankind. And somehow, some way, people, and which is crazy, people are just flipping the game. They still have keys regarding, and they're just flipping the game, making a bag. You really think people cared that much? It's just like anything else, like shoes, graphics cards, any other things you see on eBay. They're just flipping the game because they know it's a commodity. Like, damn, you want to have the day before a game that shut down? This game now could have probably did a lot of updates, more likely, but here's the thing that you sold people on: zombies. It was supposed to be a better DayZ, but you're better off playing DayZ, and even DayZ roasted you guys for that, for your last statement. But this is the most interesting thing I've seen regarding the day before. The fact that they even blamed us. They blamed us, bro. That is wild to me. What do you guys think about the day before? What do you guys think about content creators being blamed that we're the reason that we killed the day before. Like, what do you guys think, right? I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. If you guys want to check out the entire playlist of the entire saga regarding the day before, I'll leave the card at the end of this video. And as well as if you guys want to check out my theory regarding the day before, go check it out. And as always, it's been your host, KICTV, here at Chaotic Inc., signing out. Peace.
Make a manifest. I don't sleep, that's so weak, don't plan to rest. I'm from a hood where you die if you don't pack a vest. No culinary degrees, but whipping crack the best. Chefing, hard times taught lessons. Praying every night to pull up in park Benzes. What's my home is what you call trenches. You wouldn't last a day seeing life through all lenses. It's all tension, no sun, and rain and plenty. Full-time job, still can never make a penny. I ain't